All right, we are continuing our series. Let me clear my throat first. There we go. Now that'll be better. All right, we are continuing our series of Let Them, um, where we the first week we're Let Them Go, then Let Them Fall. This week is Let Them Feel, and then next week we're going to be talking about Let Them and Let Us Forgive. And so we've enjoyed this series, and I do encourage you to participate in the book study that'll go along with this. Great response to that so far, so that'll be good, and you're welcome to come and be a part of that on Wednesday night. But today we're going to focus in. We're using the prodigal son story as a way to unpack this topic, and so we have had 3 consecutive weeks, and we'll have a fourth week next week on this story because there's so much in there. It is easy to talk about different aspects of that story from week to week. This week we're talking about and focusing on pretty much the older son and his relationship with the prodigal, but also with his father and his struggles as the older son, as the sometimes called obedient son, the one that did not run away, but yet maybe in his own way was a prodigal, was not necessarily in the game also with that. But sibling rivalry is one of those things that stems from a lot of different things. Now, some of you are the oldest. How many of you are the oldest? How many of you are a middler or younger? How many of you are only? So there are different ways of interacting. One of the things we talk about, our daughter, Catherine, was an only, and only children kind of live in a special relationship. They're usually surrounded by a lot of adults, but they also enjoy their time to be away. Catherine was one of those folks that was the first one to sign up to go to camp, whether she knew anybody or not, just because she was comfortable being on her own with that. And my sister's family would come and visit us from Nashville, and they would be here in 2 hours after they had gotten there to stay for a couple of days. Catherine would come and say, "When are they going home?" Because it was her used to having kind of her space, her way, and whatnot with that. So your birth order, I'm a second oldest, oldest middle. There were 4 of us. And so that is my relationship. I had a brother 15 months older than I with that. So our relationship, sibling rivalry, is one of those things that can be very prevalent. It can be subtle. It can be all kinds of different things with that. And that's kind of what we have in this story here. The expectations, assumptions that are made. There is a sense of some jealousy, some selfishness. There's some kind of assumptions of preferential treatment by parents based on who you are and where you are in your birth order, maybe. With that, sometimes that's real. Sometimes parents tend to gravitate a little bit more to either helping someone that needs help or, for whatever reason, tends to favor one. And even though we try not to do that, sometimes that does happen. But it is actually interesting about the questions often asked, is this just one parable or is this many parables put together? Sometimes they talk about 3 different parables: the parable of the father, the parable of the prodigal, the parable of the elder son, and sometimes even get a 4th one thrown in there along the way. And so this story has lots of components to it. The central theme of this is obviously the love that Christ has for us,
that gets exampled out in this story. The focus is on the way we go about seeking, or Christ seeks, wayward people, and especially in the Gospel of Luke. We often talk about the Gospel of Luke as the gospel of the least, the last, the lost, and the lonely. Those persons that for whatever reason have been either cast aside or themselves have found themselves lost. And in particularly in this chapter, you will find those stories, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we comes in. But the central theme is that Christ often looks for the one that has been marginalized, or the one who's been cast aside, whatever that might be. And so the way that we go about dealing with that is looking for those wayward souls that we have. And there's always the celebration from Christ of the celebration of the joy of those who have been found. And so in this particular set of passages that we have in the Gospel of Luke, we have the story of the lost sheep, the lost coin, and the prodigal. And in each one of these, there is joy and celebration when that which has been lost has been found. And so Christ is reminding us that each of us has an opportunity to share what would be this unconditional love that Christ has for us. And so we look forward to hearing more about that. This is the part of the scripture that we're going to take a look at today. We're going to be looking at the 25th through the 32nd verses, which the prodigal has come home. And there is much merriment and celebration at this point. And then we have the older brother. The elder brother comes in. So here we go. Now the elder son was in the field, and when he came and approached the house, he heard music and dancing. He called one of the slaves and asked what was going on. He replied, "Your brother has come, and your father has killed the fatted calf because he has got him back safe and sound." Then he became angry and refused to go in. His father came out and began to plead with him. But he answered his father, "Listen, for all these years I have been working for you like a slave for you, and I have never disobeyed your command. Yet you have never given me even a young goat so that I might celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours came back, who had devoured your property with prostitutes, you killed the fatted calf for him." Then the father said to him, "Son, you are always with me, and all that is mine is yours. But we had to celebrate and rejoice because this brother of yours was dead and has come to life. He was lost and has been found." There are stories that we know in the scripture about brothers. It doesn't take long in the story of our Bible to, in Genesis 4, have the first sibling rivalry story that we have. And so we have the story of Cain and Abel, two very different individuals. I don't know about you, but I was very different than my brother. With that, my sister and I kind of gravitated together some, but my older and my younger brother were very different than me. And so as with that, we have Cain and Abel. Cain is a farmer. He is out taking care of the crops, and Abel is a shepherd. And at times we even know that there is competition and there is a challenge between those who farm and those who have sheep, and where the sheep go and what they eat, and the challenges that go with that. So in Genesis 4, we have the story of sacrifices being offered to God. And for whatever reason, God has said that Abel's was better than the one that Cain gave. a parental kind of statement made. And so the siblings feud over that. And so Cain and Abel, obviously the sons of Adam and Eve in this story, but they're in this awkward situation where one has been given praise, and that creates a challenge for the other. And so it's the younger who has received the favor at this point. The older is the one that has been challenged. And so what God has asked for is the best from the farm as well as the best from the field. And again, he favors what Abel has given. So God is confronted that Cain he confronts him about the murder that has taken place. Cain obviously goes out and takes his brother out because of his unhappiness. He's punished by making him basically a wanderer from that point on in his life. And so, but God does one of the things. God often does something and then has a counter to that. And in this particular story, God protected Cain by placing a mark on him so that no one would harm him for what he had done with that. So Cain and Abel kind of set the tone. And we see this story going throughout the scriptures of alienation and reconciliation that happens throughout the scriptures of times that we are in relationship with others and with God, and times that we are out of relationship with Him. And so this is an ongoing kind of story throughout the scriptures. God is constant in the midst of that, but we kind of come in and out and do favor and not favor with that. But we also know that there are some famous relationships of brothers that are out there. We are familiar with the Manning family with that. And one of the interesting things about rivalry that we have between siblings is sometimes it's what is created within the family, and then other times it's created exteriorly and continue to be kind of challenged with those that are involved. And the more public you are, I guess, as individuals, the more famous you become, the more rivalry is anticipated or comparisons are made with that. And one of the things that Peyton and Eli both had is that they were often compared. And you'll see one of them, he's a better quarterback than he is than a quarterback. He is the one that accomplished the most. No, he's the one that accomplished the most. And so, and they have played upon that. You remember the ESPN commercials and things like that, where Eli and Peyton are there together, and at least on the surface, they tend to get along and slough off some of this competition that others try to imply on them with that. But they're often compared. They both have 2 Super Bowl rings with that, and Peyton won all 3 of the games that Eli and he were in competition with each other. They never appeared together in the Super Bowl, but they did play each other 3 times during their career, and Peyton won all 3 of those games. And we know the Super Bowl rings that both of them have. Eli was the MVP of both of the Super Bowls in which he won with that. And so people continue to raise that question. Who's better? Who's better? Who's going to be the GOAT of the 2 of them with that? And then one of the other more famous ones that we tend to hear about almost weekly with that is that of Prince William and Henry, or Harry rather, with this and all that has gone on in that family. Can you even imagine? What's it like, Eric, to live a life like that? It's just one of those. Can you even imagine where everything you do is under the microscope by the world and by what it is? And so William and Harry both obviously grew up in the public eye and both endured the tragic loss of their mother. And maybe that has played into some of what's going on between them and the dynamic that is there. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending upon who you ask, there's been some question about which of the parents favored the other one. You know, William, by birth, is going to be the first king. I mean, will be the king. And so Harry has been challenged by that. But he also, he talked about it from the standpoint of one of the things that allows me to do is just do anything I want to do. I don't have to worry about being the king. And so for that reason, I'm just going to do what I want to do. And if that means I'm going to abdicate a little bit and go somewhere else and not be in the middle of this, that's what I'm going to do. But the thing that was interesting was that his mother, their mother, actually made the comment at some point in time that continues to be out there, is that, you know, Harry would probably really be a better king than William. So it creates this awkward thing where whether you want it or not, you're in the limelight. Whether you want it or not, people compare you. And we don't know what goes on behind closed doors, but the bottom is it can be a challenging time. So we do know in the story that we're talking about today that the older son comes home after working in the fields. And here he finds obviously his father's heart that had been broken by the younger son for basically claiming his inheritance, which indicated, and you've heard this before, that Dad, you're dead to me. You don't exist anymore, and for that reason, I'm going to go ahead and ask for my inheritance. And once I do, I'm independent. I'm off the payroll, but I have received the inheritance that I'm going to receive now, and I'm going to do with it whatever I want to do. And so it created, obviously, a really challenge for the father, because I don't know if you've ever been to the point of a relationship with someone where you just said, you're dead to me. You know, you don't exist. And that would be true for his brother too, because of the way it's set up with that. But anyway, the father whose heart had been broken by the son is now celebrating the fact that his son who was dead is now alive. And by coming home, the son is saying, Dad, I made a mistake. You are alive, and I want to come home to you. So a no good son who has come home is having a fuss made over him, and he's not anticipating this. This is something that obviously is not something that he practiced all the way home. The speech he was going to say about, Father, I'm not worthy to be called your son. But the interesting thing is, I've always found in this story is that I don't want to be your son, but I also don't want to be at the very bottom. I want to be a hired hand. I want to get paid for working for you. Even though I've already received my inheritance, I'm going to let you pay me as if I was a hired hand here, and not just have food in room, but I do want a little compensation for that also. And so we have this guy who doesn't deserve it, some would say, receiving once again the affirmation of his father. And then the older brother, who some would say does deserve some more recognition and thanks for all that he has done. He's the one that stayed at home. I don't know, staying at home doesn't happen much anymore, but sometimes people go away, as Phil experienced, and then they come back home with that. And I have often found if they come back home, they may be bringing somebody with them with that. And so the older brother who feels like he needs more recognition feels taken for granted. And he is bypassed into the favor. The worthy, even though he himself is going to receive a larger portion of the estate than the younger brother would have received with that. And so even though he is still, and the father even reminds him, I'm going to take care of you. I've already got everything set up for you. It's all whatever I have is yours. And so there is some conversation related to that, but it's not fulfilling on the part of that. The older brother feels like he's the one that has been dutiful. He's done everything that's been asked of him, even working in the fields. He hasn't been just out managing people. He's been out working himself with that. But he comes across with exaggeration when he encounters the father is, I don't ever get anything. You don't ever do anything for me. You've never even given me a cheeseburger for dinner. You've never given me anything that happened. And he tries to play that up with that. And he stomps his foot, I'm sure, and just says it's not fair. Everything's supposed to be fair. And I have done all this for you. So therefore things should be fairer for me than they are for this brother. But the father tries to console him with that. And it's the father, I think, does as most parents try to do. This is not a keeping score kind of thing, where if one gets this, then this gets this. You balance what you do. And some of us have been in families where there is a greater need on behalf of one or two of the children than there may be another one along the way who may be more self-sufficient, who may be more capable of caring for themselves, whatever that might be. But he does remind him, you've always been with me, and for that reason, it is a good thing. But one of the things that we know in the story, there's a few things I thought were interesting about the story, is that there doesn't seem to be any real love lost between these two brothers. We don't go into it, Jesus doesn't go into it much in the story with that, but I noticed that in the story, there's no mention of the elder brother encouraging the younger brother to leave. There's nothing in there that says he asked him to leave, or he made it so difficult that the younger son felt like he had to leave. Also, the elder brother, there's no mention of the elder brother trying to find the younger son. There was never an attempt. And I guess if my brother said to me, you are dead to me, then maybe I wouldn't go out and seek him either. But there's no mention of any kind of attempt of reconciliation or come back home, I need your help, or Dad would love to have you come home, or whatever. There also is no mention of the elder brother waiting and watching for the younger son with the dad. The dad keeps looking the horizon to see if the younger son is coming. And there's no mention ever of the older son participating in that. There's also no mention of the elder brother criticizing the younger brother's lifestyle, the decision he made, or whatever. There's no mention that he continues to berate the younger child after he leaves. And there's also no mention of the elder brother saying in his heart, well, at last my brother has received his just rewards with that. And then we know also that the older brother makes a line in the sand with his dad and says, basically, you've got the party going, but I am not going to participate. I have no interest in being a part of celebrating this guy, the one that you have reinstated. Which is one of the challenges the brother has with this, is the fact not only did the father welcome him home, but he made him a full member of the family once again by giving him the robe, the family robe, the family ring, and the shoes that we're wearing. This is the garb of our family. And so you now receive this once again. And there's not... The brother doesn't go in either, because there's a celebration and feast of the fatted calf. Again, it was not something minor here. This was a huge celebration that was going on. And so he's not happy with that. And so he doesn't go in because everybody was happy except him. Everybody is celebrating together, but he can't do that. He just won't go there. And so the elder brother also reacted with anger and discouragement. His reaction was not appreciated by the father either. And he's disrespecting the father by not accepting the invitation, as well as talking back, if you want to call it that, to the father. The father now has two prodigal sons. He's got a son over here and a son over here. And so he's still in the middle of this mess because both sons have created difficult situations. And then the elder brother also feels that he is being treated unfairly. It's not fair. And so we have been there ourselves, I think, with that. But there's also the redemptive part of the story. We're going to spend time next week spending more time talking about that. But I think it's helpful for us to remember that there is this unconditional love that is underwriting this story. It basically is, I will love you even if you, and we have often said this to our children, I think, I love you no matter what. With that, you can always come home if you need to. And then situations happen that make that challenging. Despite of the negative aspects of the biblical stories, the Bible also emphasizes for all of us the potential for reconciliation and redemption that we have. God's intervention can lead to transformation in our lives, even if in the most broken relationships that we have, there is challenges. The Bible also provides guidance on resolving conflict and fostering healthy relationships. And there's lots of passages in the scripture that talk about that. So anyway, we have all these stories in the scriptures. The story of Cain and Abel, we've already mentioned that. Jacob and Esau, which were the twins, if you remember that, there was some favoritism on the part of the parents and who would receive the birthright. And so it created an awkward situation there. Joseph and his brothers. I don't know if you have brothers that tried to sell you to someone else. Here's a great way to get rid of you out of my home. We're going to sell you to the neighbors and let you do that. But anyway, there may be some things that we would say, I love you no matter what, even if you, only to sometimes be challenged by that. So I do have some questions here for you. When in life have you been the loving father and welcomed someone home, even if? Yes.
Question, Dave.
Sure.
From a historical context, how old would the younger brother have likely been? You get the feeling as you're reading the story that we've got a 20-something brother that leaves and maybe a late 20s, early 30-something brother that stayed. But I have a feeling they would have been much younger. So I'm asking because I would imagine there's also some immaturity on the part of both that would play into the story.
The comment question was, is there any indication of the age of the brothers at this point? Are we talking about the fact that they're young enough that there's some immaturity on the part of both of them in the way they act? I don't know if I've never had an age to it, but I would assume it would have been teens and early 20s or somewhere in that time frame as you're talking about it with that. I don't know if any of our other scholarly people in here have an idea of, but which one? The college? The younger one was definitely college age. Yeah. But yeah, it would have been early enough that it would have been unusual to do that. And obviously, the way this often worked, obviously, in the story, as we see it, is that you were a part of the family until you received, whatever level of inheritance you were going to become and became a person of age. Now, there are indications that this may have been younger than we would have thought with that. There's by tradition, when girls reach puberty, they began to be of marrying age with that. And it may have been that these folks were younger than that, but I would think it's definitely college age for both of them in that general vicinity with that. And it doesn't mention other siblings along the way in this. So anyway, when in life have you been the loving father, basically? And did you have some even ifs thrown in? And have you said that to your own child? Is that something, or is it? I know there's some families where basically when you turn 18, you're on your own kind of thing. I know one family that when the kids turn 18, they get some kind of job and begin to contribute to the household as a way of helping them learn responsibility before they go away to college, and then all of a sudden have everything at their fingertips that they might need or want. Also, share time when you felt like the older brother, when someone received something that he or she didn't really deserve in your estimation. What were your feelings? How were they expressed? What did you do? Have you ever been the brother standing outside the banquet hall saying, "I'm refusing to go in"? What was behind that? Why does that happen? In which of the following statements would you think would be said by the older brother? That person, that sibling of mine, doesn't deserve it. I've been good all my life. I should receive something for being good. I know there was the expectation, at least in my household, that you don't get paid for what you should be doing as a contributor to the family. We didn't have allowances in the sense that a lot of folks have with that. The assumption was if there's a request for spending money, then it will be, and there's ways to, I guess, maybe work that off. But is that a possibility with that? But life isn't fair is one of those things we keep hearing. And even as an only child, I heard that from Catherine periodically, and I don't doubt that I said that myself as I was growing up. This just isn't fair. And God isn't fair, maybe in our own thinking. And strangers are welcome here, is anything like that. So talk amongst yourselves.